If you've ever had to change struts before, then I'm guessing you've used this tool. I walked into my local auto parts store today and asked for this specific spring compressor. And the guy behind the counter said, "Yeah, we have it. We call it the Widowmaker." And I said, "Why do you call it the Widowmaker?" And he gave me one of those looks, you know, one of those. The job for today is to change the front struts on my wife's 2005 GMC Envoy. I recently made a video where I changed the rear two shocks from the original factory teensy-weensy Bilstein shocks to a more respectable set of Bilstein 4600s. And the results were really good. I took that thing out on a drive and I could tell an immediate difference. Much more confidence on the road, and I like that. But the only thing is that was only the rear two shocks. So I ordered the front set, and unfortunately it's not just shocks, they're struts, which means the spring is, kind of housed all together with the shock, which also means that it's a lot more difficult to change. But being that I have an automotive YouTube channel, I figured, what the heck, let's give it a shot. So today may very well be the last day of my existence. This tool is called the Widowmaker for a reason. It's extremely dangerous. This tool is a strut spring compressor, and you really should know what you're doing before you use it. This isn't for the faint of heart. Matter of fact, I don't recommend you even touch this thing. I recommend you take it to a professional. Your life just isn't worth it, honestly. I don't even know why I'm doing it. But that being said, let's get to it. Depending on the year, make, and model of your vehicle, your strut will look something like what you see here behind me. There's the coil spring that you can see right here, and within this coil spring, you can see there is a shock or a strut. The coil spring and this strut work together. It is one unit. And so in order to change this strut, I need to remove this entire system and take it apart. And before I start that, I'm gonna lube up some of these areas that I know are going to be tough. On top of the strut, there are two nuts that need to be removed. I'm going to do that now. And with these two nuts completely loose, looking all the way down at the bottom of the strut, you can see this big nut that I have to take off. This is probably the hardest part of the job. So let's see how it goes. Oh, yeah. All right, so the nut broke loose. That was pretty easy. That wasn't the hard part. I'll spray some penetrant here. And I'm gonna let this sit for a few minutes while I go grab my BFH. Okay, so the hard part is this is a tapered press fit, kind of like a ball joint. So to try to get this loose, I'm gonna slide this pry bar back here. I'm gonna put the nut back on to protect the threads. And while keeping pressure here with my pry bar, I'm gonna give it a few good whacks. And after a while, you should end up with a loose joint there, just like that. And if I remove this last upper nut here, the whole strut should fall right out just like it's doing. And that's it. That is the entire strut assembly. Don't fret, guys, I am getting very close to using this spring compressor tool. But there are a couple things I have to do first. I have to remove this from the bottom of the strut. And in order to do that, I'm gonna get my 18mm wrench and socket. And there we go. I am now at the point where I need to use this tool. And this tool in itself is not dangerous. Obviously, it needs to be in very good condition and used properly. That being said, let it be known that I am not a professional. I am not trained in any way. I am just a garage mechanic, a DIYer. So don't do what I'm doing. Actually, I recommend you take this sort of a job to a professional. First thing I'm gonna do is pull this safety pin back. Then I can take this paw and put it in where it fits. Now I can slide it all the way up as high as it'll go. And once it is high up on this spring, I'm gonna push this safety pin in. Now the bottom here has a slip joint. I'm gonna go ahead and place it into the spring and slide this long bolt up into the top part and screw it in. I'm also gonna make sure my safety pin is fully seated. And while I snug this thing down, I'm gonna make sure that this post here is completely parallel with the strut itself. I definitely do not want it to be at an angle in any way. I would say if there's any trick to doing this the safest way possible, I would think to try to make sure that those spring compressors are equally spaced apart. You can see I have the spring compressors exactly opposite each other. In my mind, that just makes sense. Equal pressure on each side. And now that these are snug and not going anywhere, I can tighten them up. You really just want to do a little bit on each side at a time, trying to keep it as even as possible. Now, I'm not sure if this is okay or not, but I'm going to use my impact wrench to speed things up a little bit. Keeping with the theme of a little on each side. And with this spring compressed enough, I can go ahead and remove this top nut. All right, everything is loose. I'm taking this top nut all the way out. I can now remove the strut. And there it is, the factory Bilstein from this 2005 GMC Envoy. And you can see we still have this spring under incredible tension, so we do not want to mess with this. We do not want to kick it, drop it, or even touch it. Let's leave this be while we grab our new strut. And here is that new strut, and you can see this is a Bilstein 4600. These are excellent shocks. And with install, we just take our strut and slide it in from the bottom. I'm at the point now where I can remove these spring compressors. You can see the bottom of the spring is positioned right where it should be, right at the beginning of this angle. And I have this top nut bottomed out. With everything completely installed and tight, I'm now going to remove these spring compressors. And we are now totally loose. These things are ready to be pulled off. Okay, so far we have removed and replaced the strut within the coil spring. I can now work on reinstalling this in the car. I now have to reinstall this bottom strut mount, and this thing just slides right on. And this little indention right here at the bottom of the strut is actually a relief for the bolt. You only have to slide the bolt in, and it is now placed correctly. Install is just going to be sliding the strut up, getting the bolts through the tower there, and starting one of the nuts. Okay, now that this strut is up and installed and the nuts are started, it's not going to fall out. I can work on aligning the bottom. And once you have it lined up, you can go ahead and start the nut. And with every last bolt gone over multiple times to ensure that they are tight, the job is officially done. Well, that proves it, guys. I guess it is possible to use one of those spring compressors and come out on the other side. I am unharmed and, of course, still here, and I am not a professional. So that goes to show you that if you have a good part that is in good condition and you take extreme caution, it is possible to do it safely. Well, this video certainly wasn't meant to be an instructional, more like if you're kind of like me and you just want to see how the thing works, what you can look for, just a few tips and pointers. Yeah, that's kind of what this video is. It's what I would have wanted to see while searching YouTube, just to know exactly what this part is, how it works. That way I can make an informed decision as to whether or not I am capable of doing this job or whether I need to take it to a professional. And again, I think most people should be taking this sort of a job to a professional. It is just a little too dangerous for the average Joe, and I am certainly the average Joe, but I felt like with the little bit of experience I have working on vehicles that I could get it done, and I did. So thank you guys for watching. I hope this helped you in some way, or at the very least entertained you. If it did, don't forget to smash that thumbs up. It really does help the video and the channel. And if you're watching this video and you're not subscribed, well, consider subscribing. I'm Jimmy with One Road, and I will see you in the next one.